Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
The Daily Compliance News for May 6, 2025, the Made in China edition. And we begin with that story from the Wall Street Journal, which reports that Beijing's Made in China plan is narrowing the tech gap between China and the United States. If you read Tom Friedman in the New York Times, you know he's very worried about this. But the Wall Street Journal reports that an industrial plan rolled out by China a decade ago, which was criticized by the U.S. as protectionist, has been highly successful in narrowing China's technological gap. The study by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is set to intensify the debate in Washington on how to counter China's use of state subsidies and other strategies to bolster competitiveness. Of course, the problem with the Trump administration is not only have they put their head in the sand, but they want to get rid of U.S. government initiatives to help U.S. businesses. So hopefully some adult will wake up in the Trump administration, but that's an open question. Next up from Politico reports that the EU Parliament has cracked down on lobbyists in an effort to stop corruption, properly recognizing that one of the biggest areas of corruption is lobbyists. The EU Parliament has toughened its rule on lobbying after 2 years of a cash for influence scandal that has triggered one of the largest corruption investigations to hit the EU. From May 1, anyone entering Parliament's buildings to advocate on behalf of outside bodies has been forced to activate badges and register for the purpose of their visit. The plan is to keep tabs on who is talking to whom in the wake of Cattergate, named after one of the countries allegedly linked to offering cash and gifts in return for favors. Transparency is important, especially when it comes to interested representatives, be it our business side or NGOs. I don't know why you wouldn't have a register of those coming in your building. Certainly for conflict of interest purposes only, that's something well established and well known as an anti-corruption tool in the United States. Bloomberg reports that representatives for Indian billionaire Gautam Adani and his companies have met with Trump officials about dismissing the criminal charges levied against him in an overseas bribery probe. The talks, which began earlier this year, have intensified in recent weeks, and it could lead to resolutions in the coming months or so. The Adani's representatives are trying to make the case that his prosecution does not align with Trump's priorities and should be reconsidered. In other words, Trump said no corruption prosecutions, and Adani says, yes, we agree with that. And our final story comes to us from ComplianceWeek. Aaron Nicodemus reporting, good friend Aaron, that the Department of Justice has ended Albemarle's FCPA non-prosecution agreement a year early. This is partly the scaling back of regulatory enforcement, but also I think you have to credit Albemarle as well. In April, the company concluded its NPA with the DOJ prior to the end of its term in recognition that the agreement had been satisfied. The NPA was implemented in September 2023 following the company's self-reporting and had been scheduled to conclude in September of 2026. So Albemarle really did everything right after they discovered the bribery and corruption. The information that was in the NPA is well known to the compliance community. Shout out to Albemarle for a superior effort. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.